entrepreneur isn't always easy. Even when things are going well, there can still be some mindset roadblocks that get in our way and stop us from reaching our full potential. But the good news is, it doesn't have to stay this way. Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Shawon, and here on the channel I share branding and business tips as well as take you behind the scenes in my life and business as an entrepreneur. Joining me today is a very special guest, and her name is Candace Morey Wall. She is the owner and psychotherapist at 413 TheraWorks. We're going to be diving in and talking about how to overcome those roadblocks and mindset challenges that we face as entrepreneurs. If you haven't already, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and help me welcome Candace to the channel. Well, guys, I am so excited. As I have shared with you, we are going to be talking about mindset challenges that we face as entrepreneurs. And I am so excited to invite on to the channel today, Candace Morey Wall. She is going to be sharing so many good insights with us to overcome those roadblocks that we all face. And I'm so excited to have you on with us today, Candace. If you don't mind, if you could just start out sharing with us how you became a therapist and how did you start getting to help the people that you help today?
Sure. And thanks again for having me today. I'm so excited to be here and to talk to your audience. I actually, fun fact, never wanted to be a therapist. And I was FBI bound. So I have a master's degree in forensic psychology. And when I was halfway through my program, had a family emergency come up, had to relocate back home, and just kind of fell into it because this is something that I could apply my degree into doing. And I found out that I'm really great at it and I really love it. I love connecting with people and having them work through any challenges that they may have. And I also found out through that work that I love leadership. I love mentoring too. And so I took on more leadership roles, director roles in previous positions, and decided that I wanted to start my own practice and have a bigger impact directly on the populations that I wanted to serve, and also other clinicians to help them know that they're worth it and they can work through their challenges too and continue to grow in their field.
I love that. And when did you start your practice? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I started my private practice in 2018. I had a baby and decided that I wanted more flexibility than my 9 to 5 grind plus on call 24/7. And it was a huge leap. I've never directly done outpatient therapy before. And so it was a pretty scary thing to take on for sure. And through research and planning, I was able to feel more comfortable jumping into the unknown, and I did it. Once I was in the field in private practice for about a year, I realized how lonely I was and how much I really missed collaborating with other therapists, having really great conversations just about day-to-day things, not even necessarily clinical work. And so I decided to expand into group practice. And thus 413 TheraWorks was born a year later. And since then, we've grown from one employee, me, to 7 of us. And we're starting to expand this year too into more trainings, educational programming, and also consulting work as well.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. So you share like a common thread with all of us here as small business owners and entrepreneurs. And I would say too, for a lot of women, having your first child and you're in that 9 to 5 and it's like, oh, I need to do something different. And what is that? And you yourself, you made this huge leap. And we've talked before about how it feels when we're starting out. And we have, I feel, all of the courage, the gusto. We're excited about it. We know why we're doing it. And then we start to hit these roadblocks or mindset challenges as a business owner. So, could you share with us some of the things or some common roadblocks that you've seen or some that you face yourself when you started out?
Absolutely. So the biggest roadblock that I had, and also talking with family members at the time, was how are you going to support this financially? You have no clients. You've never done outpatient therapy before. And so the money piece was huge. And I think, again, I agree with what you're saying earlier about common threads with small business owners and entrepreneurs is money fears are so real. Money narratives are so real. And I think that that is a huge roadblock that impacts people's choice, whether or not to take the leap. And I know for me in my field, I would always have a backup plan if it didn't work out. And so I think that that was really helpful too, knowing that therapy is such a needed service. Worst case scenario, I have a safety net and I just went for it. Ultimately, though, in my mind, I knew it was going to work, but I think the safety net was helpful for my family to accept that I was taking this huge leap. So I think money mindset plays a huge role when you're starting off in a small business. The second challenge for me specifically was, what if nobody comes? What if I don't have any clients? How is this going to work? And I think that that is also a really big mindset roadblock for a lot of people too, is like, what am I delivering, or what am I offering that's so awesome that people are going to choose me when there's all of these other practices in the area? How do I stand out? And I think our own fear and doubt get in the way too of us pushing forward, when it's much easier to sit in the boat than to rock the boat.
For sure. For sure. So let's unpack this first roadblock because I think we've all been there too. I'm going to say that a lot probably during this talk. And maybe I shouldn't say we all, but I have experienced both of these mindset roadblocks that you've mentioned. And the first one, let's unpack this, the money, the narratives that we've created around money. So I feel that we can, maybe from childhood or just experiences, we can create these narratives, these stories that we're telling ourselves about money. So first, let's start there. What are some of these stories that we tell ourselves? And then what are some different stories or records? Oh my gosh, I just said records. Dating myself. You know what records are, right,
I know
Candace?
and records are making a comeback, so I think that
Yes. Yes.
you're on trend.
So let's unpack this money narrative. What does it sound like? What does this record sound like when it's just, yeah, get causing us issues?
So there's so many different money narratives that come up, and there's actually a big movement right now on something called money scripts. And these are the automatic scripts that play over and over in our minds again, that are actually developed in childhood from observing our parents or our caregivers' relationship with money. I read actually that we start to develop our relationship with money as young as the age of 6. And a lot of times that is the mindset, that is the money mindset, the money narrative, the money script, whatever you want to call it, that we will carry throughout the rest of our lives. So some of these scripts sound like money doesn't grow on trees. I can't afford it. We don't have money for that. We're broke, right? So it's almost like perpetuating the insecurity around money and not wanting to take risks. And I think especially in our work culture in the US, there's this false belief around, if you find a salary job or you find a company that you can stay at forever, you will be safe. But the reality is a lot of states are at will employers. And so they could terminate you at any time. And being in small business or owning your own business, you have the most control over your money flow, because it's going to depend on how much you're putting into your business. Your time, your energy, your effort has a direct impact on what the return is going to look like. And so I think becoming real with what is your relationship with money and really confronting that is so important to overcoming or starting to challenge that money mindset. Another thing in US culture is that we don't like talking about money ever. So these are very hard conversations to have, not only with the people around us, but also within ourselves. very uncomfortable to talk about money. So with that said, it's also very hard and challenging to overcome money insecurity or coming from a fear-based place that there's never been enough.
Really good. So where would be a good place to start and for someone who's recognizing maybe today that wow, I have been playing these scripts and gosh, to go back to being 6 years old and the things that have been said around money that may have shaped, or as you mentioned, have shaped our mindset around money. What is a good starting place for someone to start unpacking all of those scripts that are playing?
There's actually some really great book resources that I will share with you that you can share with everyone. But the biggest thing with any kind of money obstacles that we're trying to overcome is to start thinking about challenging and actually writing down what are the facts here versus what is a thought or a belief. Our brains are so good at convincing ourselves every single thought that pops to our
Mm,
mind is fact when that's not the case. It's based off of our own perceptions and interpretations of situations, not necessarily black and white statistics
mm,
or factual information. And when we write things down, it's much easier to see what's actually a thought here and what's actually a fact or a belief, just to start writing some of them down and then thinking about where they come from. Are they even our beliefs? Or is it something that we overheard or a fear that someone put into us at some point in our lives?
it's really good. Very, very helpful. I feel there's so when it comes to writing things down, I see it having an impact in so many areas of our life. But I think about goal setting. And as we're talking right now about those scripts, even menu planning, like writing out your menu, that helps you. I just see such a benefit in writing things down. And as you said, in this case, being able to separate fact from what's true, right? From our thoughts.
Absolutely, from our
So,
thoughts. And the other thing that's really curious is our brain processes thoughts in a different part of itself
mhm,
than when we actually see something. And so we're utilizing different parts of our brains to conceptualize our experiences when we write things down and reread them versus just continuing to think about them. It's also much easier for ourselves to talk ourselves out of things when
mhm.
we're just sticking to them instead of committing to them on paper.
Oh my gosh. Woo, that was an ouch moment. Really good, really good. And the other mindset challenge here, oh my gosh, I know I face this. What if nobody comes? Oh my goodness. Even I would say starting your business, moving forward in your business, wanting to maybe add a new offer or do something different, starting a YouTube channel, being on video. What if nobody comes? Writing a social media post. What if nobody likes it, listens, comments? Let's unpack that one for a bit, Candace.
What a big one. And what, right?
Yes.
And a lot of our mindset is not just wrapped up in our own fears and our own doubt, but there's so much weight on the judgments of other
Mm,
people, right? We don't want to be humiliated. We don't want to be embarrassed. We don't want to be vulnerable and put ourselves out there because what if it fails?
mm, mhm,
I know you've seen the stories out there of people who are wildly successful, who have failed 50 times before they succeed.
yeah,
And the people ultimately who are the most successful are the ones who have put themselves out there time and time and time again. Failure is practice. And
mm,
so how do we reframe our thought around, okay, well, it's great practice that I wrote this post up and I had the courage to post it. And maybe I can think about ways I could alter it differently for the next post that I do to see if that gathers any more attention from the audience that the first post didn't. So instead of seeing it as failure, like how do you look at it instead as a learning opportunity to do something differently next time? That's a big
love
one
that,
for sure.
love that.
And I always talk, I love talking to people too, especially women in small business, because I think there's so many other obstacles that we overcome putting ourselves out there and creating our own brands. that the best way to build your business, your mindset, is to be you. People are going to come to you because it's you, not necessarily just for the service that you're providing. And so people are going to know when you're genuine and showing up in an authentic space and using your values to guide you, as opposed to just doing it or copying someone else who is successful, because that's definitely not you. And so they're not just coming for a service, they're also coming for you specifically.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so that just like took me back to that. What if nobody comes? And if you sit in that space and you don't take action, if you don't do the thing that you've been called to do, you are not like, oh my gosh, that's not being authentic to who you are. It's not serving the people that you're supposed to serve. So what a disservice that would be to sit in that space and not take action and stay in the fear of what if nobody comes. Do you want to hammer on that just a little bit more for me,
I
Candace?
do want to hammer on that a little bit more. Thank you for the opportunity. I think a big reflection too, and that can be, what actually are you afraid of? Naming the fear, not just saying, what if nobody shows up? Okay, then what? Then what? Then what? The more that you can tease apart what you're actually afraid of, the more in control you become in doing something about it, and being able to start tackling these fears and these worries and the objections you're giving yourself one by one, instead of letting it just be like this huge ominous cloud of doubt or fear. I think another thing that can get in the way too is a little vein of something I like to call perfectionism.
Ooh.
And again, I think it goes along to similarly to what we were just talking about, is if nobody clicks like and people think I'm a failure, or I put myself out there and people reject me, what does that say about me? It's much safer not to do anything at all. And so there's this vein of perfectionism where we are fear avoidant. And so we don't want a rejection avoidance. We don't want to put ourselves out there if we're going to be rejected. And so until we can convince ourselves that it's absolutely flawless and we're going to go viral, we're not going to do anything at all. And that's what touches on what you just said too. Like, we sit in this inaction phase so long that at that point, the time has passed. Someone else has already done the thing. And I guess we have to start from square one again.
Oh gosh, that's not good. And what I would like to head into now, I think we've pointed out three roadblocks. Perfectionism, I think that was definitely a solid number three, because I've seen it so often, even for myself at times, where you want something, you want the blog post to be perfect. You want, I don't know, the caption to be the caption to be perfect, as you mentioned, the website to be perfect, and we don't take action. And now I want to, let's see, are there any tips around perfectionism that you can share with us? How do we get out of, I'm fearful, I'm avoiding it? I think perfectionism and maybe procrastination can go hand in hand together too. Can you share some tips around how does someone move out of procrastination and perfectionism?
So this is a big one. And I think there's so many layers to this, because no one wants to admit that they're a perfectionist, because I think that there's so much stigma around that. I think we have ideas in our mind, or generalities about what perfectionists look like.
Mm.
And sometimes it's not always good stuff. And so I think if we attack it on a surface level, and to just tell you like, hey, mess up on purpose and see what happens, the world's not going to end, that's going to absolutely terrify a perfectionist, and actually probably put them into inaction instead. Because especially as a business owner, there's so much on the line. We put so much pressure on ourselves to develop this brand and this identity and this integrity. And so something as little as a copy mistake, we convince ourselves could absolutely annihilate our reputation, right? But the reality is nobody else is thinking those things. We're thinking those things. No one is thinking about us as much as we think they're thinking about us.
That's
It's
so good.
us. It's our roadblock. And so the great thing about the digital age now is we can put out as many iterations of something as we want. And so when you push publish on a blog post and you reread it and see a typo, go in and change it and push it back out. This isn't us, spending so much money on publishing a book that once there's something in there, oh my gosh, the money this is going to take to redo, push out a new iteration. How cool is that? That it's almost this fail-safe for perfectionists to take action over inaction because you can always edit it, push it out again. But we convince ourselves that once it's out there, right, it's ruined forever if there's a mistake. And that's just not the case. And I think sometimes we use it as an excuse not to put it out there because it's actually fear-based, as opposed to someone else making a judgment about it.
So good. So good. I feel too that everything that you just said is so freeing when you do think about it in that way. It's a blog post. You can go back and change it. Also, too, like going through these different iterations. I remember I think it was a podcast I was listening in on, but it was about a perfume company, and they named their perfume bottles with numbers. And I think the number may have been 27 or 40 something, perhaps. But the premise behind it was that we went through all of these iterations to get to the product that you are smelling and you're loving today. So I think that in itself, too, is freeing, that it's okay to go through the iterations and not allow perfectionism to hold you back. I love that. I love that. I feel so free in that. And I hope if you're watching, I hope that you feel that way too. I really hope that you do. So overall, Candace, if we could move into some like good practices to keep our mindset, I guess, built up, if we can think of ways to flex that muscle to, I don't know, in a sense, stay strong, or yeah, to have a
Yeah.
strong mindset on a daily basis. What are some things that we can be doing to help ourselves in that way?
So I think the biggest thing for me is always do things that you actually enjoy doing. You don't have to be working 24/7. And the thing that I always impress upon people is play. I think as adults, we stop playing and we stop having fun and we don't allow ourselves to do the things that make us laugh or the things that bring us joy. And when we are in those spaces, that's actually when we're most creative because we're not allowing the negative thoughts to block out our flow. And so oftentimes you may find when you are being playful or being present with your kids or laughing or doing something completely silly, you might have an idea spark because you're not blocking the flow of that creativity. So I think engaging in some kind of play or something that's going to make you laugh or feel good every day is so important. And also, when those negative thoughts start to pop into your mind, absolutely challenge them with finding the fact. What's the fact here? What's the data that supports that this thought is valid? You're probably not going to find any if it's a negative thought. And so that's just one of those things, confronting your negative thought process and having awareness that you're even doing it is also a really good first step in switching your mindset, reframing your mindset around the things that actually are important and are truthful, for sure.
Love that. Do you have anything, I would say, in terms of self care that could even be helpful when it comes to our mindset?
Yeah. Stop being so mean to yourself.
Oh,
That's the self-care. We are our own worst enemy. We are our biggest bully. We talk so badly to ourselves all the time. And I saw this really good quote the other day too that said something like, talk to yourself as if you're talking to your child, or talk to yourself as if you're talking to a best friend. The things that we say to ourselves, we would never say to a loved one. So why are we allowing ourselves to have that dialogue internally? We really do have control over our mindset, and we have to believe that we do for it to change.
it's really good. Really good. Thank you so much for sharing that. Oh my gosh, Candace, I knew that this was going to be a wonderful conversation, and that is exactly what it has been. And to wrap up our time together, is there one piece of advice or one thing that you want to leave behind and share with our audience today?
Sure. I think the biggest piece of advice I would have is that your ideas aren't dumb. Your ideas could literally plant the seed for someone's whole life to change. And imposter syndrome is a real thing, but don't let it hold you back.
Really good. Thank you for sharing that with us. Oh my gosh. This has been so good. I want to keep talking. But instead, we'll go to our rapid round of
Oh
questions here. How
boy.
do you feel about that?
Okay. I
All
hope
right.
I can keep up.
Well, because you mentioned play as one of the things that can help us with overcoming our mindset challenges, how about you share one thing that you enjoy for play?
Oh my gosh. I love playing with bubbles. Bubbles, I
Okay.
think, are super easy and beautiful and keep you in the present moment. I think a big thing with play is anything that's igniting your senses and keeping you in the present is what it's all about. So I love bubbles, and I love sharing really funny videos with friends, like reels with friends, like animal videos, cat videos, anything that brings a laugh is really great little serotonin boost all day long.
I love that. Have you seen like the bunny videos? The bunny is eating strawberries. So
Yes, yes, so precious. And even hearing them little nibbles, yeah, it's
yes.
super cute.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Would you share? Let's see. Oh my gosh, I think you've already shared a fun fact. For me, was learning that you were FBI bound. But is there
Yeah.
another fun fact that I don't
Um,
know?
I'm also like a big closet nerd. I love Star Wars and I love Lord of the Rings. And my son and I went to Disney a couple weeks ago, actually, and we got to meet Chewbacca. He's our favorite. And so that's a fun fact about me, too. I think a lot of people look at me and wouldn't think that I nerd out, but I love nerding out. It's one of my favorite things to do.
I love that. Love it. And how about, let's see, a book that you could recommend to us?
Sure. So my favorite kind of workbook, if you will, is Atomic Habits. I'm not sure
Mm,
if you've read Atomic Habits. Our
yes.
habits shape
Mm,
everything
mm,
about whether or not our day is going to be productive or successful. And learning how to identify what's going to set us up for the best climb up our mountain every day is essential. And I think James Clear does a really great job talking about incremental changes and how to implement them in our lives. And I think that we can certainly apply Atomic Habits to mindset iteration too,
mm.
as we're working to improve our own internal thought process.
Really good. I love that book. Love it. Let's see. How about I saw a vacation that you recently had. So it was a vacation. I'm going to say it was a vacation, but how about, yeah, best vacation spot that best vacation that you've ever had?
Oh my gosh. This is a really hard one, because obviously family vacations are always wonderful to see my child having the time of his life. And I just talked about us going to Disney. But I had the opportunity actually in March to go to Ireland. I'm not sure if that's the trip that you're thinking of.
Yes.
It was my first international jaunt ever. And I went by myself and spent some time seeking out my ancestral land, the cliffs of Moher. I did an Irish poetry class in college, and to see the places in person was absolutely mind-blowing. It was such a beautiful country. And it was so transformational for me personally and also professionally to go a place I've never been all by myself. Courage truly is a gift, and we cannot grow if we're continuing to do the same things that we do inside of our little box. And so that was a wonderful trip that I'll never forget.
The pictures were just breathtaking. I can only imagine to actually be there and be in the presence of all of that.
It was
Thank
incredible.
you for sharing that. Well, Candace, thank you so much again for coming on today and sharing with us. Will you let us know where we can find you?
Absolutely. So my Instagram is at Talk with Candace. So come on over and join. I do little videos all the time about different things that we encounter, real people encounter in everyday life.
Thank you so much. I am going to leave Candace's information down in the description below. And if you haven't already, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Also, leave Candace some love down in the comments. Let her know what resonated with you most today and any value that you received from today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.